Oh, okay.
So we discussed like what you guys did. We did with the consciousness, right? Same way we discussed. And Raja Mohanaya leaded the meeting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, join now.
ஐயா வாழ்க வளமுடன். You are mute ஐயா. எம்பிஆர் ஐயா.
Okay.
Thank you.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Yeah, if you're talking, we're not able to listen to you. So.
Oh, yes. Meditation is over, is it?
Yes, yeah. Meditation concluded.
Right.
Minutes ago. Yeah. All of that.
Today we will continue with the discussions on genetic center.
Recording in progress.
The genetic center, as I said, is the brainchild of Maharishi. If anyone has come across this subject elaborated by anybody else, I request you to reveal that, to share here. Has anybody talked about genetic center other than Maharishi?
No, people talk.
People talk about?
People talk about soul, but nobody talked about genetic center in specific. So the closest I can say is Vallalar, who said the meaning of Akku in Tamil to find where the mind stays. But I don't think anybody touched on genetic center and its importance.
And if you look at the components of genetic center, physical body, astral body, causal body, all the three. And in this physical body, which part is dealing with genetic center? The Sabda Tadu system is a spinning system with the juice and the blood occupying the outermost layer and innermost layer by the sexual vital fluid or the Sukratadu. Then What is the nature of the sexual vital fluid? It is formless energy, and so it is abstract. If you take the astral body, what is the portion that is involved in the genetic center? It is the core of the astral body, namely the delta wave, the particles with slowest speed, which produces delta waves when they dissolve. So it is the slowest of the energy particles or divine dust particles or life force particle. And if you look into the place where this astral body is involved in the genetic center, is almost the particles are slowest, so they lie closer, interparticular distance is least, and it looks like a syncytium. The particles are packed side by side, where the interparticular distance is least. And so it has got specific properties different from the individual divine dust particles. The speed of the spinning energy particle or divine dust particle progressively comes down, that it dissolves at the center to become space. So there also, in the astral body also, we are not able to see the dust particles as they dissolve, become space, absolute space, something comparable to a black hole. And in the causal body, it is the delta waves. As I said earlier, it is 4321.99, 0.80, like that it comes. So if you can zoom this area, you get so much details. Otherwise, this zero waves also are not easily available for observation. It can only be thought of, but cannot be seen or felt. So all the three bodies are uniformly having absolute space at the center of the genetic center. And this absolute space present in all the three bodies, becoming one, and thereby integrates all the three bodies into one body. And this seventh Tadu is much more valuable. You know what are all the activities and area where it is present in the body. It is almost acquiring all the absolute space-like properties, thoroughly permeable, and it is pervading the entire body. It moves from one place to the other at the time of necessity, need, and the total amount of sexual vital fluid present in the genetic center gives additional properties of attracting more number of life force particles. And the activities of the sexual vital fluid itself is very important for the functioning of the genetic center. If it has more vital fluid, it attracts more force particles, divine dust particles, so the life force becomes stronger. And similarly, the delta waves, they are only involved in the silent waves, stationary waves, which are above the realm of our observation purview. The divine experiences are in the stationary waves, in the slowest of the waves. And these give special features for the genetic center, and all are not available for observation or detailing, recording. No, it is only the mental activity. All the three body become non-physical, formless energies. So it is a wonder how Maharishi conceived these things and formulated the genetic center, which is so vital. And all the three, sexual vital fluid, the stationary particles with the least spinning activity, and the delta waves, zero waves, not moving at all. Everything becomes absolute space. And when you are in the center of the genetic center, you become divine. Shall I say that? So this is the special feature of genetic center. And it is quite natural that nobody else talks about the genetic center. These properties are essential for the genetic center to perform. Now, in the last meeting, I believe you people were discussing about the brain and the genetic center. Is it right? Tarunji?
Yeah, Dharunji was totally, yeah. So yes, we are discussing with the brain that you asked the question about where the imprints get stored, either in brain or in genetic center. That's a discussion we had with the conclusion that we are waiting for you. Yeah. Raja Mohanaya explained some. Yeah. And
Rajamohan, what do you think?
Sir,
Raji,
same three centers are integrated at the genetic center. That's one point. Another one,
Yes.
brain function is it is recording in the genetic center and retrieving the information, bringing to the brain and showing as thought. These are the two functions explained. Does it record in the brain also? That question was raised. It is like a computer. Hardware is the genetic center, and the temporary storage as a RAM in computer, that is in the brain. Some portion, one page of unbody is brought to the brain and is shown to the shown as a thought, and all the pages of unbody are recorded in the genetic center. This was the example given by Dr. Ananda. So this was the discussion. Oh, what Ananda?
Ananda, is the genetic center the software and the brain hardware, or vice versa? Which is right?
Vadgavaramana. In my experience, genetic center is definitely a software, because no way we can locate that this is the place where the genetic center is there, this is the organ, and we can't physically locate it as an object. It is present in all the cells and all the three bodies. While brain obviously is a hardware, and brain helps us to interpret the recordings of the genetic center, and interpretation of the brain again vice versa gets into the recording of the genetic center. So it's a two-way communication with the genetic center and the brain.
Center and the brain are integrated. Both work together, but both are different. What are the functions of brain and genetic center in common? Ravi Prakash, can I ask you?
Yes, sir.
So what are the functions that are common to both brain and genetic center? Brain is a spinning.
Yeah.
Brain is a spinning system. So also the whole astral body, causal body, and physical body are also spinning systems. And the recording of our experiences all are taking place both in the brain and in the genetic center. The information stored in the genetic center passes beyond the lifespan of the individual. The ancestral imprints are all stored in the genetic center. Whereas with the birth of an individual, he starts accumulating his own imprints, experiences in the form of imprints in the brain as well as the genetic center.
So can we say brain is the temporary storage and genetic center is the domain, the big storage which will be permanent until it gets completely erased?
Yes. Now, it is something like cloud computing, saving things in the cloud. The genetic center almost records everything, not only your own lifespan and also the previous one, the previous generations, all recorded there. And this makes it unique in when one is getting his own progeny. The entire genetic center recordings are xeroxed for the baby. And in the genetic center, it is all available in one spot, in one lot. And with a Xerox copying of the genetic center, the child's genetic center takes everything together. Whereas if it is to take it from the brain, the functioning of the different areas, what is recorded at the occipital lobe may not be recorded in the temporal lobe. And similarly, the olfactory area is functioning differently with this thing. And the brain, it is a compartmentalization. Whereas in the brain, in the genetic center, it is in one spot, all put together, it is recorded. And the beauty of the imprints is, even though they belong to different centuries, millennia, they are all retaining their character. They are live, they don't die. The imprints don't die and they remain active. Can anybody question or tell why they are fresh, uncontaminated, retaining their characteristics for millennia, for yugas together? Is it a mysterious phenomenon? Arun?
It is the order of consciousness, yeah. So the way in which the consciousness it's built itself, it keeps it pure.
Same consciousness is working in the brain also.
Right.
So what makes different?
What I usually think about brain is like it's like a microscope. Genetic center is the lens that the specimen that you keep it at the bottom. The instrument is only extrapolating it and temporarily showing it to us. As long as the instrument keeps itself pure, it only reflects like a moon. It only reflects what the sun it is, which is from our genetic center. So as long as the moon keeps itself pure, as reflective as itself, it will remain as is. Is that a better analogy? I don't know.
Lal Mohanji.
Hi, Kodamalan.
Yeah, can you differentiate the function of brain from that of a genetic center?
Actually, the recording system is multi-part in our system. Actually, one layer is brain, another layer is the senses and the body. These two, this area, there is an area of recording which is done in, maybe we can say as part of the molecular arrangements. Molecular arrangements changes. It's a general term which I am using. Whenever there is a sensation is occurring, when we are experiencing something. Whereas that is again conveyed to the subtle astral body for a little longer term recording for retainment, because it's a multiplier system. The third layer is the causal body. And the causal body has got the capability of linking with the universal consciousness. Only causal body has got the capability of linking with the universal consciousness, because it's a causal body. When the mental brainwave frequency reaches zero, gets linked with Shivakalam and Shaktikalam. So it's able to extract information from Shivakalam and Shaktikalam Whatever is coming through the generations are mostly in the molecular arrangements conveyed through the astral body and also through the sexual vital fluid. Okay, sexual vital fluid also has got subtle body as well as molecular arrangements, which are actually conveyed as the characteristics of the parents to the progeny, which is actually getting transferred to the body of the progeny as well as to the astral body. Whereas whatever is conveyed from the parents as their divine character, and also as the imprints through generations. The really deeply imprinted imprints are actually coming through the causal body. So it's a multi-tier storage, I would like to say. So cannot be easily, analogy with computer is not so easy. Brain is also a processor, it's also a storage. It's not only just storage, it's a processor also, when you compare it with computer. Whereas senses are also storage, but it's not a processor. Astral body is also a storage, but it's not a processor. Okay, causal body is also storage, a very, very long-term storage, which is coming through even the divine, the most sophisticated aspect is the causal body, which is capable of linking with the divinity. When the brainwave frequency comes to zero, approaches zero, so it is able to gather information from anywhere in the universe. The man becomes highly, the wisdom rises to a very high level. That's why we call a person who is able to maintain his brainwave frequency at zero state is considered to be a jnani and a yogi, because he can extract information from anywhere in the universe. Whatever you ask a question to him, he is able to give an answer because he is able to extract answer from the universe itself. So he doesn't have to study anything. So any question that you ask, he is able to give an answer because his causal body is getting linked with Shaktikalam and Shivakalam, which is again the controlling aspect of the entire universe. So any information about any subject you ask a yogi, he is able to give an answer. So it's a multi-tier storage, but the processing mechanism, the amplifying mechanism is the brain. It's able to process it and then convert it into, as per the need of the time, place and object of contact, is able to convert and transfer the information as per the way in which somebody else, the person who is able to, with whom the brain is conveying according to the language and all that, it's able to translate and then convey as per the language, because whether it's English, Hindi or Tamil or Malayalam, it's able to convert. So a yogi is able to understand any language because language is not a barrier to him, because he is able to understand the vibrations.
So in that case, even the astral also has the processor.
Astral, yeah, when the body and the body are complement to each other. So astral is having a kind of processing, might be, because the body and when the body dies, let's say when the man dies, the astral body remains. It's able to process the information still. So that way the astral body is also a processor.
Astral causal body is all the more. It lives longer.
Causal body is the most divine part, and it's able to establish link with anywhere in the universe. But astral body doesn't have that much of capability. So it's a multi-tier system. So analogy with the computer is not so easy.
It is not easy. Let me shall I come into?
Yes.
I think you have not completed your presentation. Anyway, allow me to intervene.
Yes.
The imprint formation, if we look into, it is all the experiences xeroxed by the magnetic wave, the biomagnetic wave. And this biomagnetic wave starts from the genetic center, travels throughout the body, and comes back to genetic center. The nature of the biomagnetic wave traveling from the center of the genetic center to the periphery and returning to the place of its origin, namely the genetic center. The area field in the genetic center area is very highly dense with the packed particles, the syncytium formation, and low speed. The spinning movement is least, and the wavelength is least. Everything is coming to a standstill, and that is where you have zero waves. And in this area, when it comes from the area of the sense organs, in the highly expanded form, the biomagnetic wave exists. It takes a Xerox, and this is sticking to the biomagnetic wave. And two layers, one is the photocopy of the experience, and the two is the biomagnetic wave as such. And because of the nature of the field, the biomagnetic wave shrinks. It is something, it slows down and shrinks and becomes a point. When it reaches the center of the genetic center level, it is almost shrinking to a point level, which separates the image taken by the sensory organ and the biomagnetic wave. Both become point-like. And in this stage, when they become dots, the attachment to each other is not possible. And so the biomagnetic wave and the image taken by the biomagnetic layer in the sense organs, they also become point-like, which is folded, spin, coiled, and becomes a magnetic knot. So that becomes the imprint. So the imprint comes from the causal body, and it is deposited in the genetic center. When a fresh wave starts from the genetic center, it picks up an imprint with equal vibrations and the spinning and the wavelength, etc. When it matches, it resonates with the biomagnetic wave and gets attached to it. The imprint attached to the biomagnetic wave travels towards the periphery of the body. As it travels towards the periphery of the body, the biomagnetic wave itself expands. What was taking place at the time of coming towards the genetic center, it is progressive contraction and to the point of a dot. Whereas in the outgoing wave, it opens up, and what was coiled like a dot opens up, and when it reaches the brain, it is decoded and the meaning is understood. In this way, this contraction of the Xerox taken by the biomagnetic wave becomes an imprint, and since it is the magnetic wave that becomes a magnetic knot and imprint, and the magnetism is nothing but absolute space to a major portion, and a fraction is only the Xerox copy or the imprint portion is. So both get separated, and in the interface of the genetic center. The interface, I mean, the moving part and the non-moving part. The center of the genetic center is absolute space and there is no movement at all. It is zero movement. So it is static. And at this level, both separate. And as they move about this thing, the imprints are remaining as such with the frequency at which it was recorded. It remains with it. It has the connection with the absolute space, and that makes the particles, energy particles or divine dust particles and life force particles to remain in spinning because of the continuity between the center of every dust particle to the absolute space. They draw the energy from the absolute space, and that is the surrounding self-compressive pressure force is acting on the dust particle even, and that is what is making it continuously spinning. If you compare the absolute space and the dust particle, it is fraction of the space, but it is, though continuous with the space, the spinning takes place much more than that of the surrounding self-compressive pressure force. Only when the spinning moment of the energy particle or divine dust particle is matching that of the surrounding self-compressive pressure force of the absolute space, this spinning energy particle will remain as a separate entity. If it is wee bit less, then it will be compressed to nothing. It will dissolve and disappear. The particle will dissolve and disappear. For the particle to remain as particle, its speed of rotation, the generated energy should be equaling that of it. If it increases the energy of the surrounding self-compressive pressure force of the absolute space, this will leave our system of the body. And so it will go away from the body and there will be no continuity of it. It becomes the universal magnetism, not biomagnetism. So every dust particle or life force particle is in continuation with is connected to the absolute space and draws energy from there, thereby lives for time immemorial. And the same thing with the biomagnetic wave, it is also it is more than the particle. The wave is the energy dissolved in the absolute space. The surcharge of the space with the energy deposited into the space makes it magnetism. And so the imprint has all the properties of absolute space, as 90% or 95% of it is made up of absolute space. So the imprints are having a major share. It behaves like absolute space, almighty, and that is why it is kept fresh as such as it was forming. The characters are all stored without any change or alteration. And for imprint formation, you need a biomagnetic wave, a Xerox copy, and holding and coiling to become a dot, magnetic dot, and that becomes the imprint which is dropped in the interface, moved the junction of the moving portion of the genetic center and the non-moving portion of the genetic center. There in the interface they are deposited and they are stored. And this is the nature of imprints. For the imprints to form a biomagnetism, the causal body is required, and the imprints are all are there in the causal body, and not in the astral body or in the physical body. And this combination allows the cause and effect system, the karma system, or the imprint system to function continuously. And that way it is required. This may not be taking place in the brain to the extent as it takes place in the in the genetic center. So there is a difference in the functioning of the genetic center, which is larger, broader than brain, the limited one, compared to genetic center. So in this way, the genetic center with its connection with the static space, Almighty God, it is able to do more. And that is the reason why genetic center is important. There are people who have their brains injured badly, not functioning, but still continue to live. Whereas if the genetic center is disturbed, if the integration of the physical, astral, causal bodies disappear, they become detached to each other, then it may not be possible. But the job of the imprints is unique, that the number of imprints that a genetic center holds is right from the day when the space started moving, when the particles form the life force and life force circulation is established, and from this stage onwards the imprints continue to accumulate. These, if you look into, these imprints are deposited in the interface which surrounds the central zone of absolute space. This absolute space, which is that is castled by the accumulating imprints, all put together, they form a formidable layer around the absolute space. The absolute space is called as the Atman in the living beings. And this Atman is sealed by the imprints, and they don't allow this space to merge with the absolute space outside. So in the living beings, with the contribution by the imprints, they arrest the absolute space. So that's why after death, when the population of the imprints are more and stronger, they don't allow the astral and the causal body to separate out. They move together. When the astral body and causal body remain united, that that entity is not simple spirit. The life force as such disintegrates, joins with the universal field to become the common pool of energy particles, the life force particles. They get separated from the life force system. If the sexual vital fluid is not in sufficient quantity to keep the three bodies united, integrated, then they separate out. After death, the physical body disappears first, then the astral body, and finally the causal body. And if the imprints are stronger, they don't allow the separation of the astral body and the causal body. And these two exist together. And when they exist together, the soul, that is the astral body, causal body, and the imprint complex, all put together, they have independent movement. So the attachment, soul attachment, is related to this state where the causal body and the astral body live together. If only the astral body is there, the binding force of sexual vital fluid is not there, so it disintegrates. The attractive force of the genetic center potentiated by sexual vital fluid is not there. So more life force particles and the energy particles leave the system, and the astral body becomes weak, and it comes out, separates out, unless it is held by the imprints. So this is the behavior of the imprints and their effect on the genetic center and the after death story of the astral body, causal body, and imprints all put together. And these imprints, which are with the genetic center consisting of astral and causal bodies, they float around in the area around the living being who has died. It floats independently of the physical body, and when it comes across a living being, these imprints which are related to the living being, they migrate from the dead genetic center complex to the living being, and that way the imprints migrate from the departed one to the living one. And when they transfer to a great extent, the binding force of the imprints become weak, and they allow the separation of the astral body and the causal body, and they in due course disappear because of the migration of the imprints and the binding force to another living soul. So in this context, the nature of the imprints and their ability to arrest the absolute space, that is the Atman, within a causal body and the astral body is significant. And when they become weaker in due course of time, as the imprints resonate and vibrate from the dead one to the living one, and they become weak and they cease to exist. This takes pretty long time, many more years, depending upon the amount of imprints they have collected. So in this way, the genetic center is stronger than the brain. In the brain, it requires all the circulations, blood, air, magnetic, life force circulations to function as the brain. When that is withdrawn by the separation of the physical body from the astral and causal body, it fails to live continuously because of the lacking support of the energy flow from the blood circulation, air circulation, magnetic circulation, and the life force circulation. It becomes weaker and disappears. So, in this way, even after the destruction of the physical body, the astral body and the causal body complex lives continuously. So, the genetic center is having a longer life than the brain, and whatever is stored in the brain is lost along with the body, physical body, whereas with the genetic center, causal body association, it lives longer and it is transmitted from one individual to the other individual. So, the genetic center is vital for the continuity of the journey of the imprints from one body to other, and so on, so forth. So now I think I have sufficiently complicated the subject. Anybody having any doubts can come out, raise any questions.
Aya, very nice elaborate discussion, Aya. What is your view on applying these principles in our normal day-to-day activities or in our practices? How we can apply this knowledge to improve our present life or maybe even the future lives?
The process of spiritual training, that is dealing with the energies rather than bodies. The physical body is the vehicle in which the abstract energies of the life force and the causal body act. The biomagnetism in a living individual is the raw material for all the activities of this thing. This becomes the unified force that is acting. And as long as we are living, we are subjected to the influences of the sense organs, the jnana karmendriyas, and the antakaranas, the mind, buddhi, siddham, ahankar, like that. All these things constitute our living system. And this takes the vital biomagnetism and makes it weaker. So, weaker the biomagnetism, the fickleness of the living being increases. He loses his ability to concentrate, stick on to dharana, dhyana, and attaining the higher states of, deeper states of meditation. So, the spiritual seeker, he tries to minimize the loss of biomagnetism. So he discourages the sense organs, the karmendriyas, the antakaranas, all the activity are discouraged by the process of pratyahara and dharana. The mind is focused on the target, namely the absolute space. And in this process, he becomes a silent, a mauni. And when this state of maunam, total silence, is observed, the biomagnetism accumulates in the body and it moves to higher states. That is, when the biomagnetism works through the Akash element of the Panchabhutas, it is only manifesting as pressure, in the air as the sound, in the fire as the light, in the water as a taste, in the solid as a smell. When this biomagnetism is not consumed by these transformations, it is going on accumulating, it becomes the mind, where it is able to understand these panchatanmatras and build up the qualities of the mind, which is existing in the manner of mind, then buddhi, then sitham, then the ahankar. So if these are not used, again, just like the sense organs and the jnana karma indriyas, the indriyas becomes defunct. Similarly, the antakaranas also become defunct. And when they don't operate, they don't consume the vital biomagnetism, it goes on accumulating. And when the sense organs and the jnana karmendriyas and the antakaranas become solid and become silent, then he becomes the absolute space. And in that state we call it the videha mukta. There is intermediate state where it is jivan mukta, where the sense organs are there, but they are not acting stronger. The biomagnetism available in the body keeps on circulating without expenditure. They remain as such, so they are called in a state of jivan mukta. And when that energy is not touched at all, as in the state of videha mukta, the ultimate state of samadhis, he becomes one with the God, and he becomes identical with God. So this is the way the spirituality evolving and using in day-to-day life. Is it clear, Ananda?
Thank you, Ayya. Very useful.
Right, sir.
Sir, வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
அவ்வளவுதான்.
Sir, I have one question. Can I ask, sir?
Sure, I am willing to listen to the questions.
Okay, thank you, sir, so much, sir. And regarding this genetic center and the brain function, so you have given a very elaborative view. So what I understood from your lecture is there is a networked intelligence. So that network of intelligence is coming out from all the transformations, whether it is from plants, animals, man. So all the maturity, so the complete intelligence network is being recorded, and there is a genetic center which is located on our Muladhar area. So, and there is a spinal cord, so which takes through the biomagnetism, it takes it to the brain, and now both the things are functioning, and the brain, as I see, it acts as a graphic processor or other sensory processor, and it has a processing capability, taking out the imprints details from the dot, from the seed, and then it processes the data and gives you instantaneous result like recognition or getting a new face, and then that getting it recorded on the reverse into the genetic center. So like that, this process is going on. So my doubt is, if I understand this correctly, so probably we can't work without the genetic center. We can't live. So if is there any case in medical history that if because of the damage in the spinal cord end or on the genetic center part, and then the life is lost immediately, because the brain death we are seeing, but what about this portion getting cut off, and is there a immediate death? So that confirms what we call it as the genetic center being located at the other end of the brain, which is connected by the spinal cord. So that is my question, sir. Thank you.
Energy spinning system is the body. At the level of physical body, astral body, causal body. And all the three bodies have a common central axis. That is the Mooladhara, the center of the genetic center. So it is existing there. And when the binding force is becoming weaker, namely the sexual vital fluid or the biomagnetism or the imprints, when these become weaker, when the energy production from the life force system, that is magnetism, is produced by the life force. And when that is blocked, when more is utilized than produced, the body becomes weaker and weaker. The astral body becomes weaker. It is not able to have more number of energy particles or life force particles to generate magnetism. So it becomes weak, and the downhill path takes place, and the body layer by layer disintegrates. So in living system, when the body, when he is becoming more and more conscious and able to have a controlled living, he is getting elevated to the state of divinity. He becomes absolute space. That is the mukti, or the final phase of the existence. Now, as a plasma scientist, you only have to say how to identify the astral body, causal body, genetic center, everything, the complex activities. Is it possible with the help of the knowledge of plasma to delineate these structures?
Yeah, it should be possible, because if we can really try to do the research and find out the differences, it's all the speed, the velocity with which all these whirling waves are whirling about. So if we can really find out the speed difference, probably we'll be able to find some lights on this. So we need to do a research, sir. So probably we'll come soon. Yeah.
See the beauty. As long as consciousness is attached to the life of the living being, he is able to direct his attention to the genetic center, the imprints there in the genetic center, the life force component in the genetic center, the causal body component and the physical body component. All these things, his intelligence, his consciousness he is able to sort it out. But when he is
Correct.
dead, it is not there. And we have to improve ourselves, our ability, acuity of the probe to sort it out. Until we achieve it, we have to accept what is going on.
So the plasma scientist, as Aya has mentioned, the plasma can be bring into the visibility to some extent. Aya.
Yeah. This plasma, we are not talking about the blood plasma. So we are talking about the fourth state. So like a solid, you try to heat it, it becomes liquid. Liquid, if you heat, then it will go as a gas. And gas, if you heat it, then it will go to the ionic state. And the ions also, the ionic gas. So if you are further heating it more than 1 lakh degree centigrade or 1 crore degree centigrade like that, then probably you will enter into the state of plasma. So which will exhibit a very definite behavior. So that's what we are now trying to make a comparison. And with Marishi's saying of this Irai Nilai and Irai Tugal. So with these dust particles, so we are trying to make a comparison and trying to make a one-to-one match so that we can really correlate the scientific plasma and then try to understand this. Because the plasma, once it goes to the plasma state, the same gas will behave very differently. Even though the plasma state, all the ions and the electrons are moving about, running around, but still they all will be collectively behaving based on each member's contribution. So that is how there is a collective behavior in the plasma. Like the space is filled with 99.9% only filled with the plasma. So as the astrophysicists say. So even we are saying that it is all filled with all these things. So our concept and the scientific concepts both are same. Only thing is that the namings are different. So that is how we are trying to see this and trying to do this as a new research with the Aya Dr. Sir.
The scientists, yes, the scientists established let me finish. The scientist established the science and is able to transform it to all living beings. Whereas the spiritual process of elevating, reducing the consumption of biomagnetism and accumulating the magnetism, improving its voltage and the depth of action and the magnitude of its power, increasing it to realize one's own self, divinity itself. And so that is also when we reach the plasma state, that is the atoms are not there, subatomic particles are there, they also disintegrate to become the energy particle or divine dust particle. And at that stage, it is, we can call it plasma. And I often say that is in every spinning system, life force particle system, the particles are one entity and the space is the basic entity. The ratio between the number of particles and the absolute space, free space available in a spinning system decides the characteristics of the life force particle or any other entity. So when the particle portion becomes less and less and it becomes, there is a power cut. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can able to hear you.
Oh, and that is fantastic. Divinity is helping. So in this way, we are able to attain a plasma state in our mental deliberations, in our meditation, in our yogic contemplation, we are able to dwell in the area of plasma, and the plasma has its more divinity than the particle state, so it functions more like the divine, and the space is
So scientists identified that these energy particles are etheric particles are present in the plasma, or it is a state with the after the atom level itself, the plasma state is.
atomic level, the quark and the other business, all these particles put together, that is the plasma state, we can say. Let us confirm with our scientist. Ravi Prakash?
Yes, sir, absolutely. You're right.
So, it is if we want to generate plasma outside our body, we require big reactors, and just like the CERN establishment. But whereas in the field of plasma, we are able to generate plasma with locally in small areas, and something which we use to sterilize the operation theaters or surgical medical usage, these things, sterilization, or even what are the other uses, Ravi Prakash? Tell me.
Yeah, we have many applications, sir, which are under research only, starting from even cancer treatment or a dental plasma torch, further to the agriculture. So almost in all the fields, the new technology we are able to apply, starting from simple application to very complicated application, including the space research. Everywhere we are using plasma thrusters to the rockets and the satellites. So all the places we are using. So that clearly indicates. So starting even with the live bodies and live bodies, we are able to use plasma, and other places for all the space research and other places we can use plasma. For even drilling into the earth, so we are going to use plasma. So in all the cases, you can see there is something common. So that is probably the plasma state. So that is the only commonality between all these things. So that is the reason we are trying to compare it with Maharishi's saying. That is the idea.
So if you take sexual vital fluid and this plasma state, the ability of the plasma to work in all these enumerated fields of action is similar to the action of sexual vital fluid, where it is giving energy to every part of the body, where it is generating higher states of magnetism to the ojas and above levels, and works like plasma within the body to monitor and to perform all the activities of the living being. So, seeing both are running parallel, plasma and sexual vital fluid are running parallel, and we are not able to define what sexual vital fluid is in easy terms, but since we have taken the knowledge of plasma from our scientists, I am able to venture to say that sexual vital fluid is in a plasma state, and it is perform all functions of the body.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, sir. So the spinning wave, so the spinning wave of Vedan particles, so we can consider it in the plasma state, and probably we can crack the complete theory behind it. So that is the idea we are trying to do the research. Yeah, thank you, sir.
So this is possible only in the living being, or it is the plasma state can be observable even with the non-living?
The plasma state is achieved in the laboratory conditions without a living being. But in a living being, it is achieved much more easily without any harmful and deleterious effects. If you happen to expose your body to the plasma generated in the laboratory, then it is more harmful. It causes damage to the part exposed to the plasma. Whereas in our biological formation, production of plasma state, there is no harmful effect in the body.
Namaskar, everybody, and Namaskar, Doctor. This is Ashwin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Can I interject for a second?
You are most welcome. I was asking whether you have come back.
Yes, I just came back 4 days ago. Anyway, during my early days of meeting with Swamiji, at that time, I didn't have obviously that much of spiritual knowledge as compared to what I have now. But in those days, I recall Swamiji, telling me, and I never got a chance to think further on that. And I wanted you and others to share your views in light of what I heard from Swamiji. So Swamiji used to tell me at that time that the temperature in our eyes is almost as close to as the temperature on the sun, because the sun has plasma. And just because of that temperature level in our eyes, we are able to see. So I don't have too much explanation or, never thought further on it. But if any one of you ever had interaction with Swamiji related to this, if you can share, that will benefit me and others.
Yes. Ramalinga Vallalar, he is said to have attached to his soul to Maharishis and stayed with Maharishi for 10 years and all. Produced a lot of changes in him. That Vallalar always having a cloth around his head, and he was not seeing directly to people. When somebody happens to meet eyes to eye contact, they have observed enormous amount of light. They say they acquire 100,000 suns brightness. Nooru Kodi Surya Prakasam, they call it in Tamil. So it is that powerful, this thing. And we all know that once you continue to practice regularly, properly, the meditative heat, tavakanal, rises in the body, and that is the boiler effect or the collider system generating high heat, which our scientist says 10 to the power of, what is it, 18 or 17, how much it is?
10 to the power minus 18 for the
18, minus 18. So such amount of heat is generated. And
for the heat it is 10 to the power 7 to 15. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that meditative heat, tawakkul, is essential for the plasma conversion to take place in the body, and that is performing the way. When we were not having the knowledge about plasma, we were attributing it simply to divinity. Now, this plasma science is eroding more into the divine domain and converting it into science. That is what is taking place. Ashwinji, is it what you are expecting?
Yes and no, because from this spiritual viewpoint, I understand that part, and you know, I have known that part too. But how physically, with such a high temperature?
Ashwinji, I can add some points on this.
Please go ahead.
What doctor said. So actually, if you try to see the heat, so the heat is nothing but the velocity of the gas particles or ion particles, one can say. So if you can increase the temperature, means you are increasing the velocity. So in one way we can consider it in plasma terms, we call it as EV, electrovolt. So when you are comparing that electrovolt, that is what we are calling it as 10 to the power 8 to 10 to the power 12 degrees centigrade, like that. So when we are really increasing your magnetism, so that way you are accelerating your particles. The more the particles getting accelerated, the more the temperature, you can say. So that way, the temperature on the eye. So I am very, very thankful to you. So you have given a very vital input. So we were just running without, without any light in the dark, actually. So that time you have given a very nice quotation, that too from directly like something like zeroth order. So directly from Swamiji's word. So that really gives a real enthusiasm to understand that the temperature on our eye. So that means the wave that you can just accelerate it. So when you are getting the acceleration, so you are able to see a high temperature, and that high temperature you are able to pass out through your eyes, and your eyes are, as sir said, Vallalar has practiced, because he is a nuclear scientist, one can say. So when Vallalar was doing it, so that is what Swamiji was saying to us. So he has given us how much we can go. Like you are still in the family life, but you are able to do. But if we are really practicing like Ramalinga Swami, so then probably we will be able to improve our life energy. So that life energy, if we can keep on increasing, so your body will give tremendous heat. That every Rishimuni, we can say, everybody was in that state. And wherever they are doing the meditation, the whole area is getting dried up. So that is how one can see this plasma temperature. So physically we can increase. For example, in a reactor, so I have a plasma which is running only with, let us say, around 50,000 or 1 lakh degree centigrade. So by continuously making some electromagnetic induction or making some energy beams, I can increase the velocity to few crores of degree centigrade or 100 crores of degree centigrade. So if I can accelerate and get this, the same thing what you are doing it by using your universal magnetism to biomagnetism. So which is possible. So that is what we are doing in our biomagnetism multiplication, like in our mirror exercise and the lamp exercise. So we are able to do it. So that is because we are able to convert. And that conversion is nothing but accelerating your physical life force energy. So that energy is increased, means your temperature got increased. So that is how we can see that in a physical form, sir. So I think I have explained. Is it okay? You are able to get it, sir, now?
Yeah, I know. I heard you both saying that, and I think I need to digest it and think further, but while you were talking, two things came to my mind. When a realized guru is giving you or initiating you or giving you a diksha, he does it in three ways. The touch, chakshu means the eyes, and the third is the by thought. And it does make sense why some gurus, depending on the subject, they use different types of diksha, touch or the eyes or the thought, And obviously, I personally felt that through eyes, the initiation or the diksha that guru gives is much more powerful. Again, I could be wrong.
No, correct.
And I recall when Swamiji initiated me way back in 1987, he gave me the touch. But then the second day, I was obviously following his instructions, and he asked me to concentrate on Agna Chakra. And when I was doing that, he came to me and he just told me, open your eyes, And I opened my eyes and I was looking into his eyes, and I don't know what was going on, everything. But so obviously, the eyes have tremendous energy, or the magnetism that a guru can transfer to the disciple, But the thing is, the second part, this was not a question, this is just my experience. Second part that is still I need to think further or understand from everybody through the discussions, that just like the eyes, eye is one of the senses. What about the other four senses? Because if we think that eye has tremendous temperature, then there should be some form of energy manifestation related to the other four senses also. And I want to dig further into that.
Can I answer a part, Rabiaya? Can I add few things, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
carry on.
Thank you, Rabiaya. Ashvinaya, thank you for bringing into a slightly different angle of discussion, and I entirely agree with Ravi Prakash Iyer. I think his points adds a lot of values. The only small thing which I add to what you're alluding, Ashvinaya, is it is not the mere temperature. Because if we say that the eyes have the power or the temperature equivalent to sun, then the whole eye will burn out, and it can even burn the head or the whole body. So
yeah, that's what the whole thing that Swamiji was trying to explain. And even with that temperature, we are still able to survive.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. It is not the temperature, it is the biomagnetism. If we consider it as a temperature, it's become a little bit like a misnomer. As Ravi Prakash Iyer very clearly mentioned, if there is an increase in velocity, there is an increase in temperature. That is one concept. How we can understand it with eyes is, as you correctly compared it with the other five senses, the senses of touch, taste, smell and auditory are relatively working at the low biomagnetic potential. Say for example, touch is relatively much low, smell is maybe slightly better, taste is slightly better than that, and auditory is much better than that. Since they work at that particular biomagnetism potential, if a person, we can easily experience it in our daily life. If we use that particular sensory organ continuously, slowly there will be a fatigue because of that increased biomagnetism utilization. Say for example, if somebody is using a headphone and hearing music for hours and hours, etc. But if you see, if somebody is hearing a music for 2 hours using just only the ears, eyes closed, no taste, touch or smell anything going on, and take the same person on a different day seeing 2 hours of the video, and there is no smell, taste, touch anything happening in the 2 hours, with the visual interpretation the amount of biomagnetism usage will be much better. As we originate and we evolve, you can use even the Darwin's theory, our visual apparatus has become much more evolved compared to the fish or other organisms still living in the deep of the sea, because in the deep of the sea it's a very dark area, so there is no need for a visual apparatus to be a super good hi-fi working. So since our biomagnetism utilization, biomagnetism concentration is more in the eye, a guru can easily pass that dichai via the eye in a much more powerful manner. So all these words, like for example, the biomagnetism, the speed depends upon the velocity, everything is same. Even if you take our brain, medically speaking, we discussed this briefly last week also, the occipital region where the optic area is there, where the optic interpretation is happening, it has more surface area, more neurons are devoted to it compared to the auditory area or the areas devoted for the touch, smell, taste, etc. So since that takes the major work, say for example if you have a car, again it's easy to use example, the maximum gas is used in running the engine. Of course there is some amount of gas is used in replenishing the rechargeable battery, which helps in making the headlights and dashboard everything to function, etc. But the maximum is the engine. So similar to that, of the 5 senses, the maximum energy is used in the eyes. That's why it is considered to be a very powerful thing, and that's why it is compared to the functioning of a sun. Say for example, if you have to compare the functioning of a sun to an eye, how we can compare? Just take a small cubic area, it could be like a cubic centimeter or cubic meter, and the same cubic centimeter or cubic millimeter of the eyes, the power utilization, the movement of biomagnetism is so comparable to sun. That's how, and we should not bring the real physical temperature of cold or warmth which we feel, like how it's sunny day or cold day, etc. We can't bring the physical temperature to it. Other than that, it is more of biomagnetic functioning. That's what my understanding is.
Can I, while I was listening to you, I also thought of something. Is it that the temperature in the eyes increases so rapidly, so fast, like a fraction of a most minuscule second, while to process the to get the information and process it in the brain. So the actual temperature probably does go that high, but it's so instantaneous. So even if you touch something very hot.
Instead of, we can say it is heat, can we say it is the energy concentration is more, it's like a magnifying, it's like focusing with something. Energy concentration, instead of saying that it is heat, energy concentration, even with the eyes, why it is so powerful than other senses, because of we are putting the consciousness, consciously we are opening the eyes, we are closing, but other senses is not like that. Right? The mouth is different, both as, speech and eat.
Yeah, actually,
but the eyes, it's more like a consciousness matter. So even with the plasma, the observer is the main thing, which we can make it with the living being, where the observer makes the difference of seeing the changes of the plasma state.
Madam, actually, in this case, sir,
I'll just give you a time check. We already over 10 minutes, so
Yeah, I'm sorry to divert the topic. I didn't.
No, it's very excellent, sir. Actually, sir, only one thing I wanted to just make a conclusion because we are discussing on the topic. So I'll just give you a word that what you said and what the last statement was on the temperature. So actually, the temperature what we are talking about is with respect to the whirling wave, and you have talked about the time taken. So the time is fine. So at the same time, we should also note one more point. That is the specific gravity. Or if you see the specific heat capacity, we see for all the gases. So in our case, we discuss about the specific gravity, like in Maharishi's concept. So this specific heat capacity, if you see, that is very, very less. So what we are talking about is a fraction of the fraction of the fraction of what we are talking about, the subatomic particles. So in that fraction, but it is running at a very high speed, still the temperature is there, but only thing is that the specific heat capacity is very, very less. So what we are talking about is it is having the same velocity, same temperature, everything that of sun, but only thing is that the capacity is very, very less. So that is how we can see this whole thing. Then the logic will be very clear. Yes, sir. That's what from
I would
plasma.
like to, gentlemen, I would like to bring in another factor. That is, if there is total silence, then even the movement of a fly or a snake is like a big noise. So when you are calming down yourself, when you are in a maunam state, absolute silence state, a small amount of energy will be equivalent to a massive, the nuclear energy like bomb like energy when there is absolute silence. So what is happening in the meditator? It is total silence of the rest of the body, and there a minor increase in the energy level of the dynamics there. It may be equivalent to a massive heat or pressure or whatever nature of this thing is. And so that is important. It is all relative. In the human beings, we bring down the basic BMR, the energy utilization, to minimum with when we go into deep meditation. It is something like hibernation. The individual is able to go on practicing for days and months without food or other energy. So he generates that much of energy. It is the contrast. That is, I was telling that the amount of particles in a spinning system with a reference to the absolute space in that life force particle system. That is, if the concentration of the particles become less and the space becomes more, he is able to manifest more divinity than the one with a large amount of particles. The ratio between the particles to space is also important. So many factors operate in this. We will see them in more detail with more of experimentation and research on this subject. Is it time, Vijay Lakshmi, or?
Yes, I am. It's 10, already it's 10 minutes we crossed.
Okay, so we will continue if you all want in the next session on the same subject.
Thank you, Neha.
Okay.
So we'll Dr. Tarunji, are you going